In this video, we'll be looking at how to resize and resample an image inside of Affinity. So before starting the video, first of all, if you want this image that we will be using on for this video tutorial, please find the image in the link in the description. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please hit the subscribe button in order to get new tips and tricks related to Affinity. Now, without any further ado, let's get started. So as you can see here, we have an image. First of all, before resizing or applying any resampling inside of this image, let's understand the core concept of what resizing and resampling is. So basically, resizing means to simply resize an image without adding or removing a pixels from the image. So what happens is we are simply telling the software, or Affinity in our case, to spread the pixels over a different physical area. And by doing this, there is no data being lost. And however, the PPI or pixels per inch will change. And mostly we can do this when we prepare an image for print. For example, when we resize a picture dimension to make it much more larger in size, then the pixel per inch will go down, making the print look a lot more pixelated. And if pixel dimension is made small, then pixel per inch goes up, making the image for print look sharper. In the other hand, resampling simply involves changing the total number of pixels in the image. That is, Affinity uses different mathematical algorithms such as interpolation to either invent new pixel or throw away old ones when we upsample or downsample an image. Where upsampling means to enlarge an image or increase the size of the image, and downsampling is to shrink the image or make the size of the image much more smaller. So while upsampling an image, Affinity automatically analyzes the existing pixels and guesses what should go between the existing pixels, resulting in slightly blurry look. And when downsampling an image, the Affinity simply removes the pixels in between, which results in a much more sharper image. And this is commonly done for saving an image for the web or reducing file size. Now let's begin resizing and resampling our image inside of Affinity. And to do that, we'll simply navigate our cursor up to Document menu item. And in the Document menu item, we'll navigate below and select Setup. And then in Setup, we'll navigate below and select Resize and click on Document. And after clicking on Document, now you can see that we have this particular resizing and resampling box inside of Affinity. So there are different properties, and the first properties clearly specifies the property of size, where we can mention or input width and height of the image. The next property is units. That is, we can also set different units like pixels, points, pikas, inches, and more. And for print work, mostly we'll be selecting inches. Similarly, we have other properties, which is DPI, and DPI stands for dots per inch. And right now we can see that it is 72 by default, which means that normally when we are resizing and resampling an image for web or any devices that goes to the screen or that is viewed on the screen, then we will use this particular 72 DPI as a value for dots per inch. And if we want to send our image or prepare our image for print, then we will set the value to 300 dots per inch. Likewise, the next property is resample. And the resampling properties have different options, starting with nearest neighbor. And basically, these are the algorithms that Affinity has developed in order to add or introduce or invent a new pixels inside of your image or get rid of the pixels inside of your image to adjust the overall quality of your image. So I'll get rid of this option for now. And the next option we have is the checkbox for resample, which we can simply uncheck to turn off our resampling, and we can again check to turn on our resample. And below resample is description, which has different values like dimension values as well as dots per inch values. which is 72 dpi that we have set above or that we have inputted above. Now, in order to resize our image, first of all, I'll change the unit to inches because I want to resize our image for print. So now I want to enlarge or resize our image to make it much more larger in dimension. And so to do that, I'll simply select all of this particular value and then enter the value of 62 inches and then I'll hit tab. And as soon as I hit the tab key, now you can see that the value on the right will automatically be calculated and adjusted. That's because we have turned this particular chain option on. And what it does is it will make the overall dimension of the image proportional. And if we turn this off, then it will make the overall dimension of the image non-proportional if we change the value. However, in our case, I'll turn this on because I want the image size to be proportionally changed or adjusted. So the next option that I will be setting is the value of DPI, which I'll be changing it to 300 DPI for now. And next, we will simply change the value of resample. And then I'll select bicubic. So what bicubic resampling does is, it simply generates sufficient quality of the image with sharp details. And now you can see below in the description that our dimension has been set to 62 by 93 inch at 72 dots per inch, which is equivalent to 4464 by 6696 pixels. Now after I'm satisfied with this, I'll simply navigate below and click on resize. Now you can see that it has resized our image and increased or upscaled its size as well as adjusted the pixels. So in order to view or check the pixels, we always have to zoom in to the image at 100%. So to do that, I'll simply hold down the command key and press 1. And as soon as we do that, you can now view the image in 100% zoom level. So now you can see the pixels of the image has been adjusted. So this is how the bicubic resampling affects or has affected our image or image pixel. So now I'll hold down the command key and press 0 to fit our image to the window. And if you are using window, you can use the shortcut key of Ctrl 1 to zoom in 100% and Ctrl 0 to fit your image to the screen. So next what we will do is we'll simply navigate again to our document menu item, navigate below to setup and navigate below to resize and then select document. And inside of document, now we'll simply look at the individual option of resampling, beginning with nearest neighbor. So for nearest neighbor option, what Affinity does is when we select nearest neighbor option and resample as well as resize our image, then Affinity keeps the edges of each of the pixels hard and blocky, and it is mostly greater for pixel art. And the next option that we have is bilinear. And when we select bilinear and resize and resample our image, then Affinity simply generates sufficient quality, but you might want the image to be sharper. That is, the image will mostly be a bit blurry. And when we select bicubic, then Affinity generates sufficient quality and the quality will have sharper details. And then the next option is Langzhou's 3 separable. And in Langzhou's 3 separable option, it generates a bit blurry detail compared to Langzhou's 3 non-separable algorithm. And in Langzhou's non-separable algorithm, it is a bit slower but produces much more sharper image, but at the cost of artifacts that we mostly see at the edges of different subjects or objects inside of our image. So in this way, these algorithms of resampling works in Affinity. Now I'll simply click outside and select on cancel. So there is also the other way of resampling our image, and that is simply by going and selecting our crop tool. And after selecting our crop tool, we can simply click on this particular option of unconstrained. And if we navigate below, then you can see resample. And you can also set any of the units that you want for your image according to what you will be using your image for. And next, you can also set the value of dots per inch. So I'll select the unit for this to be pixels, and then I'll change the value of dots per inch to 72, since I'll again resize the image or crop the image to view it properly inside of different devices. And next, instead of giving value of the dimension manually, I'll simply adjust the value. I'll simply adjust the dimension by clicking on this particular point, and then by holding down the command key, I'll change the center of the origin and make the size of this particular crop proportional. And after I'm satisfied with it, I'll simply let go of it. And now I'll simply navigate up and click on apply button. Now after clicking on apply button, you can see that there is a certain glitch happening in our UI. So let me hold down the command key and press on 1 to see the resampling of our image. And let me again hold down the command key and press 0 to see the overall resize of our image, which has been cropped. So this is how you can resize and resample your images inside of Affinity. If you find this video helpful, please click on the like button. And for more tips and tricks related to Affinity, hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching this video and see you on the next video.